Welcome to another deep dive, everybody. And today we're going exploring the world of cybersecurity, specifically how AI is changing the game, both for good and bad, of course. You sent over this audio clip from this Spanish radio show, Capital Radio After Work, and I got to say, it's a gold mine. I mean, you've got experts weighing in, real-world examples, even some philosophical debates, perfect for our deep dive, right?
It is indeed. A potent mix for sure, and I'm excited to unpack it all with you.
Me too. Right off the bat, one of the experts, Herbal Lambert from Panda Security, he made a point that really grabbed my attention. He's seeing this really unsettling trend, AI being used to create cyber attacks that are not only more sophisticated, but also way harder to detect. We're not talking your average phishing email anymore.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. What's happening now is a direct result of AI's ability to just personalize attacks on a massive scale. Think about it. Imagine an AI crafting a phishing email that references, I don't know, your recent Amazon purchase and pretends to be a delivery issue or something. Mm-hmm. That level of detail, it just makes the threat more real, more believable instantly.
Oh, yeah. Makes it so much harder to know what's real and what's not. That really drives home what Herbal Lambert was saying about how AI is blurring the lines. It's not just about spotting typos anymore.
Exactly. It's about exploiting our trust, our familiarity. AI can even analyze your online behavior to tailor these attacks even further.
Wow. It's like the AI is learning how to push our buttons. Speaking of pushing buttons, one of the radio show hosts shared a personal experience that gave me chills, honestly. A mom got a call from what sounded exactly like her son, begging for emergency money. Turned out it was an AI-generated voice designed to prey on her emotions.
Ugh, that is just awful. A perfect example of how these attacks are becoming more and more insidious. They're not just about stealing data anymore. It's about exploiting human psychology. You really have to be extra cautious these days.
Absolutely. A whole new level of social engineering. So what can we do? How do we protect ourselves when the attacks are getting this advanced?
Well, awareness is key. Just being aware of these tactics is the first step. You need to be skeptical, especially when it comes to, financial requests or sharing sensitive information. If something feels off, trust your gut and verify it through a different channel.
Great advice. And if we're talking about chilling stories, the radio show also covered the DeepSeek data breach. It's a Chinese AI platform, and the breach exposed user conversations, login data, the works.
Right. This case really highlights the vulnerability of AI platforms themselves. We often focus on AI as the threat, but we forget that the platforms housing AI are targets too, especially when you consider DeepSeek's likely geopolitical significance and the vast amount of user data it holds. It was a prime target.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's not just about protecting ourselves from AI-powered attacks, but also about understanding the security risks associated with these platforms we interact with. It makes you think twice about the data you share, even in seemingly harmless interactions.
Absolutely. Everything is connected, and understanding that bigger picture is crucial in cybersecurity.
Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about a point that sparked a lot of debate on the show: anonymity and encryption. Roman Ramirez from Rooted, a cybersecurity conference, questioned whether authorities are too fixated on controlling anonymity when there were arguably bigger threats at play, like this AI-powered cybercrime we're discussing.
It's a complex issue for sure. The radio show even mentioned that the UN has declared anonymity and encryption as essential for freedom of expression. But how do you balance that with the need for security, especially with these evolving cyber threats?
Exactly. And it's not just a theoretical debate. It affects how we use the internet every day.
Where do you stand on this, listener? Do you prioritize anonymity and freedom of expression? Or are you more concerned about security and traceability?
It's a question we all need to consider as we navigate this increasingly interconnected world. And it leads perfectly into our next point, because this is where the need for education comes in. The radio show featured Donnie Garcia-Cron, a renowned security auditor and ethical hacker. And he had some pretty eye-opening things to say about how companies are struggling to keep up with these evolving threats.
Yeah, especially when it comes to securing APIs, those connections that let different software systems communicate and share data. What's fascinating is that, according to Cron, most companies don't even know how many APIs they have exposed. It's like leaving a bunch of doors unlocked without even realizing it.
That's a perfect analogy, and it makes them easy targets for cybercriminals. It really does. What I found interesting is that Cron advocates for a more relatable approach to cybersecurity education. He actually uses storytelling on his website, Think Mary Cruise, to make these complex concepts easier to understand and remember.
Yeah, that's a brilliant strategy. Storytelling has this way of making information stick. And in the cybersecurity world, that can be the difference between being a victim and staying safe.
So what we've learned so far is that the landscape is changing rapidly. AI is changing the game, making attacks more sophisticated and harder to detect. It's a new era of cyber threats, and it affects all of us. It's pretty wild, right? I mean, when you think about it, AI is kind of like a double-edged sword when it comes to cybersecurity, amplifying threats, but also creating new ways to defend ourselves. Did anything in that Capital Radio Afterwork clip jump out at you in terms of how AI is being used to boost our defenses?
Well, I thought Herbal Lambert's take on how companies like his are using AI to develop advanced threat detection systems was really interesting. It's like having a digital detective constantly monitoring your systems, always on the lookout for anything suspicious.
Oh, that's so cool. Can you break that down a bit more? Like, how does that actually work?
Well, imagine this. These AI-powered systems can analyze huge amounts of data in real time, something humans just can't do at that scale. They're able to spot patterns, anomalies, things that might point to an attack, even if it's something brand new, something we've never encountered before. They're not relying on signatures of known malware. They're looking for behavioral clues, you know?
So it's like having an AI that's constantly learning and adapting, kind of like the AI we talked about earlier, the one being used to craft those super personalized phishing attacks.
Yeah, exactly. It's like using AI to fight fire with fire, right? And these systems don't just detect threats, they can automate responses too, containing and mitigating an attack before it can really spread and cause damage.
Wow, that's amazing. So it's not just about being reactive anymore. It's about having this AI on your side, proactively identifying and neutralizing threats before they even have a chance to make an impact.
Exactly. And AI can also be a really powerful tool for finding those vulnerabilities in our systems in the first place. Like, it can simulate attacks, helping us find those weak points before a real attacker stumbles across them. It's like having an AI security consultant constantly testing your defenses and offering suggestions for improvement.
This is really encouraging. It sounds like AI is giving us a fighting chance in this whole cybersecurity landscape, right?
I think so. The key is to use these tools wisely, ethically. We need to make sure AI is being developed and deployed responsibly with the right safeguards.
Right. We don't want to accidentally create new problems while we're trying to fix the old ones. But overall, it seems like AI really is a game changer for cybersecurity defense, wouldn't you say?
I agree. It's a really exciting time to be in this field, even with all the challenges.
Now, before we move on, I want to circle back to something that really stood out to me from that Capital Radio Afterwork show. Donnie Garcia Cron's approach to cybersecurity education, remember, his website, Think Mayor Cruz, is a fantastic example of how to make learning about cybersecurity more engaging, more accessible.
Oh, totally. His use of storytelling is so smart. He takes these complex, often dry topics and turns them into these memorable stories that anyone can grasp.
It's such a powerful way to connect with people, to make them actually care about cybersecurity. And as we've been saying, awareness and education are absolutely crucial in this new era of AI-powered threats.
Couldn't agree more. This feels like a great transition into the final part of our deep dive, actually. We've covered so much ground, from the almost scary rise of AI-powered cybercrime to the exciting potential of AI for bolstering our defenses. Now, let's try to distill all of this into some key takeaways, some actionable insights that our listeners can use to navigate this landscape.
Okay, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive. And we've covered a lot of ground, haven't we? From AI-powered cybercrime to the potential of AI in defense. But let's get down to brass tacks. What does this all mean for you, our listener? How can you use this knowledge in your own digital life?
Well, one of the most important takeaways, I think, is that cybersecurity is no longer just the responsibility of IT professionals. It's everyone's responsibility. Like we heard in that Capital Radio Afterwork clip, even really tech-savvy folks can fall victim to these sophisticated attacks, like those AI-generated voice scams targeting parents.
Yeah, absolutely. It's scary how convincing they can be, right? It's a good reminder that we all need to be careful. I mean, you don't have to be a cybersecurity expert.
Yeah.
But you do need to know the risks and take those basic steps to protect yourself. Strong passwords, two-factor authentication, being wary of what you click on.
Yep.
We've heard it all before, but it's just more important now than ever.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And don't underestimate the power of education. Take advantage of resources like Donnie Garcia Cron's website, Think Mary Cruz. He makes learning about cybersecurity actually fun, engaging, using storytelling to make complex concepts easier to understand.
I love that. Think of it as investing in your digital safety.
Right? Exactly.
And that's such a good point. Knowledge is power, especially in the cybersecurity world. The more you understand about the threats and how to protect yourself, the better equipped you'll be to navigate this whole crazy landscape.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. Another big takeaway for me is that AI is a double-edged sword.
Right.
It's making the threats worse, but it's also giving us new tools to defend ourselves. Like Herba Lambert from Panda Security was saying, AI is being used to develop those advanced threat detection systems, the ones that can analyze mountains of data and spot patterns that humans might miss.
Yeah, like having an AI bodyguard, constantly watching out for danger and jumping in to protect you.
Exactly. And the best part is, this tech is always getting better. AI is helping us stay ahead of the attackers, developing more robust security solutions.
Just like an arms race, right?
It is, but one where we actually have a reason to be optimistic.
So, even though we've talked about some pretty scary things today, AI being used to create convincing deepfakes, companies struggling to secure those APIs, the ethical questions around anonymity and encryption, it's not all doom and gloom, is it?
Definitely not. We have the power to make good choices, to educate ourselves, to adopt good security practices, to support the development of ethical AI. The future of cybersecurity really is in our hands.
Well said. I think that's a great note to end on. We hope this deep dive has been insightful and maybe even a little empowering. Remember, stay curious, stay vigilant, and keep learning. Thanks for joining us.